Hello everyone, today I would like to introduce a new series of videos called Puzzles and Challenges. I think it's an important subject because one of the most important assets that I think a developer, an architect, even a business analyst should have is to understand what are the right questions to ask. And we should learn how to ask the right questions to other developers, to our team, to other stakeholders like business analysts, customers, and even understand how to ask the right questions to a system. Of course, we don't talk to the systems, at least for now, but with AI, maybe it will be a question of time. But sometimes we have to perform queries, we have to use monitoring systems, you have to compare results, and sometimes we look into the results and say, how can I approach this? How can I extract some information? How can I compare between a system that is working correctly with one that it's not working as expected? Which one is the, let's say, the truth and the liar here? And I'm starting today with a puzzle called the two doors puzzle, also known as the two guards or heaven and hell, and you understand why I'm introducing this one. So what is the two doors puzzle? You are in front of two doors, and these doors is just a concept. Think of the puzzle, but these two doors can be two criminals being asked by detectives. It can be two systems. One is working correctly and the other one it's not. It's not about the doors, but the thinking about the doors, it's easy for us to, as a start, to understand this puzzle. So we are in front of two doors. One leads to freedom, the other to death. That's one way to approach. There are two guards there. One always tells the truth. So there is a guy that you ask him and he says, okay, this is the door one. You should use the door one if you want to go to heaven or to freedom. Okay. And the other one always lies. But you don't know which one it is. You just have two persons in front of you. You know that one is always telling the truth, the other one is always lying. Maybe you have this problem. Maybe you are in a meeting and you have people, and one of them, you know that is supporting you, and another one is a little retractor, always trying to go against, but you don't know if it's lying, is really trying to sabotage or work or not, or maybe it's the true and the other one that you think it's true is not telling the truth. So you never know. You have just two situations that you have to deduce which one or what will be the right next step for you to take a decision. So again, you have two guards. One always tells the truth and the other one always lies, but you don't know which one it is. You can ask one question to one guard. That's the thing that you should ask. So how can you find the door to freedom? Just with one question. So this puzzle challenges our ability to extract truth from ambiguity, because it's ambiguous. We don't know. We have two persons, two systems, two criminals, whatever, and we don't know. We have to ask one question. We just have one opportunity to ask the question. What should be the question? And how can I deduce the true or what I expect to find with just one question? Using a logical strategy when direct answers cannot be trusted. That's the purpose of this puzzle. Is you have ambiguity, you have two things, and you don't know how to approach them. Okay, so the quick question, ask either guard. If I ask the other guard which door leads to freedom, what would they say? And the answer to this question will be we will see that will be the evidence that you should use to find the right answer, and it should be enough. When you ask this question, you wait for, of course, for the response, and you go the other door. And we'll see why. If you want, you can pause this video and try to deduce yourself. Why is this true? And again, why? Because both guards will end up pointing to the wrong door due to how their logic interacts. It's a question of logic. One lies about the other's truth, the other tells the truth about the lie. And if you think this is very tricky to our mind, but it's a great exercise for us to, let's say, stretch our brain. So one lies about the other's truth, if you think for a while what this means, and the other tells the truth, which will be the truth guide, about a lie. So if you see, both of them are switching. So the true will talk about a lie, but the lie will talk about the true, but lying. I know it's quite tricky, but let's try to simplify this and understand better. So imagine that again, you don't know which one it is. But let's say in your mind you start to think, okay, I know one of these guys lies, the other one always tells the truth. So if I ask to the truth teller the guy, but I don't know he's the truth teller. But imagine that you are asking the question and behind it's the truth teller. That question. So the liar, he will talk about the liar. He always speak the truth, and we say the liar will say that the door is specific one. Imagine that the correct door it's the first door, the door number 1. So if you ask to the truth teller about what the other guy will say, which is the liar will say that is the door 2. So you should go to the door 1 because he lies. So he will not say that will be the door 1. It will say that will be the door 2. So, and you know, okay, so I should go to the door 1 if he's saying that it's the door 2. If the liar says that is the door 2, so it is the door 1. If you are talking to the truth teller. But remember that you only have one question. Now imagine that you are not talking with the truth teller. Again, you don't know which one you are talking, but you are talking to the liar. And the liar, speaking about the true guy, he will lie. So he knows that the true guy will say that is the door 1. But since he's a liar, he will say that is the door 2 again. So both of them will say the door that should be answered is the 2 for different reasons. So it doesn't matter which one you ask, the answer will be always the opposite door, which will be the door 1. If you think for a while and I try to explain in detail the logic, you will see that's how it works. So I have a flow here if you want to detail the answer. So imagine the correct door is the 1, leads to freedom. So ask the question again. If I were to ask the other guard which door leads to freedom, what would they say? So which guard are you speaking? If you are speaking to the truth teller, the guy that is honest and is talking about the liar, so the truth teller says the liar will point to door 2 because he lies. So, okay. But if you ask to the liar says the truth teller will point to door 2 because he lies. He knows that the truth teller will say that it's door 1. But since he lies, he will say that it's a 2. So both answers always point to the second one, the bad one. So choose the opposite door 1, conclusion door 1 leads to freedom. That's a very logic way, not easy sometimes to understand when you have ambiguity and you know that someone is trustworthy and the other one it's not. When I say someone, it's not that you have people against you, maybe sometimes the system, maybe you are a detective or whatever. There are situations where you have this ambiguity and you know that one thing, let's say, will always lie and the other one will be trustworthy. So try to find a way to ask these questions. Maybe if it's not with your mouth, maybe it's a query, maybe it's a monitoring system, maybe it's another way, but you are talking to these systems and now you know how to follow through. Okay, so why this puzzle matters? Because teach about logical reasoning, especially non-transparent environments. You don't understand what is behind. Meta question, because you start to learn to ask about questions, not just answers. Sometimes we want the answer and you go directly with the question, but there is some agenda behind the people, and sometimes they will not provide you what you want. So you have to start to think about what question should I ask to make that answer appear indirectly in ambiguity, and this puzzle is quite good for that. Working with unreliable source, extracting consistent truths when facts are uncertain, thinking from both perspectives, anticipating behavior of both truth tellers and liars. This is a great exercise for our mind. Changing the habit, that's one of the reasons that I'm presenting this video, from answer thinking to question framing. Sometimes we want to find questions, but the best approach is not to ask directly. Again, is just to understand what are the right questions to ask and to find. I think it was during this week I was listening to a guy it was a FBI detective, something like that, and he was talking about psychopaths, sociopaths, and things like that. And one of the ways that he found to make a person that is guilty to reveal somehow itself without saying nothing was doing the right questions. And one of the questions that he was doing was about, okay, imagine that, or what do you think I should do about the person that just killed that person in that street? And he is trying to frame the guy for that, and he knows that it was that guy, but he put the question as if it was another person, like this exercise. And usually the person that is guilty will start to transpire, so it will give you an answer not in words, but will cannot hide his emotion. So they will try to monitor his eyes, the heart beating, and things like that. And a true person will say quite loudly and very fast, saying something like, "Okay, no, I think you should put him in prison," or something like that, really fast. So there is no doubt on the answer. So, meaning that sometimes it's about doing the right questions and not question directly the system or the person. So, in most situations, we instinctively seek direct answers, but this puzzle teach a more powerful habit: shift from what's the answer to what's the best question to ask. And this is this mindset or this additional tool that I want to provide to you. So this habit helps you to make better decisions with incomplete or biased data, which happens a lot, avoid manipulation and surface level conclusions, and stay calm in uncertainty and seeking structured inquiry. So that's an example. You as a project manager are trying to decide between two solutions proposed for a project, and this happens a lot. However, you have diverse stakeholders, and some might be truthful while others are retractors, biased and misleading. Sometimes there are people that have a different agenda. I have worked with a lot of these people that they didn't want the project to follow through. They have their own reasons. Sometimes just revenge. Sometimes is they wanted for their department, but it's a different department that is getting the project. There are a lot of reasons that sometimes we don't understand directly. Ask, if I were to ask your college about their preferred solution, how do you think they would respond? Maybe you can reframe this sentence to something more polite, let's say, but you can ask this question, see, what do you think your college thinks about this project since he works in this department? And if this is the right guy, he say something. If it is the lie guy, and now you understand where you can apply this puzzle. Okay, so this removes the dependency of trusting any one source and force the triangulation of truth. It's not about being right immediately, but asking the question that reveals clarity. And if you think for a while in this scenario, you start to understand how you can apply this puzzle. Real life applications in just some quick examples. Cybersecurity detecting misinformation, like distinguish between honest and compromised nodes in a blockchain or peer-to-peer network. If there is some compromise, there are hackers, of course, they will try to misguide you. They will always lie. And you have nodes that are the ones that are correct, that will always say the truth. And you can directly apply this concept of this puzzle. Phishing detection, understanding how to verify if an alert is truly from your bank or a malicious imitation by raising through indirect cues. More distributed systems, again, the concept is very similar to the cybersecurity. Or you have this Byzantine fault tolerance. Some systems assume a percentage of components may lie or malfunction. And again, you have a liar, some systems that are working correctly, and you should know how to ask it. Sometimes asking it just perform some queries, looking to the monitoring systems, seeing in which systems they are connecting, maybe they are returning the wrong messages and things like that. Interview scenarios, employees want to assess how you handle uncertainty, ambiguous or misleading information. This was a test for problem solving, not just intelligence. Sometimes this question is asked in interviews, so be prepared for it. Detective work, something in interrogation, something that I already talked in a few moments ago, but sometimes you put two different, if you have, let's say, two criminals and to ask them, maybe one is afraid, the other one is a real liar and it will not change his opinion, but maybe you can explore this. There are other things that you can do in detective, not only these two puzzle problems, but this one is a technique that can be used also. There, critical thinking in education helps students to learn to reason abstractly and test multiple hypotheses. So you suppose that something is true and something is a lie. How can we follow from these assumptions, and you can deduce things. Okay, encourage them to think about thinking, and this is a really good asset. It's something that you should try to achieve, try to learn, try to read about it. It's really important to understand, to think about thinking, because it kind of makes you monitoring yourself to be better later in your work, professional life, personal, and so on, also known as metacognition. I know it's a big word here. At the end of the day, just try to develop the way you think or the tools you use when you think about things. Okay, use cases, scenario 1, conflicting reports in a project. Okay, two developers, quite similar to the one on the project manager. So you have two developers giving conflict reports about the state of a server. One says it's fixed, the other says it's still broken. Use logic. If I ask the other dev whether the service fixes, what do they say? Then take the opposite conclusion. Because maybe one, it's not that one is lying. Maybe he is doing the wrong stuff about the monitoring. So this question will help you, well, of course, with the support of the reports that you have. It's just the concept, the paradigm behind the puzzle that you should understand how to apply. It's not that you have a magic sentence that will give you the right answer. Of course, you have to understand how to perform or how to design this question depending on the use case that you have in front of you. Okay, so scenario two, supplier or partner with an unreliable track record. Two suppliers give different answers about why order is delayed. You don't know who is lying. Again, the same concept. Scenario three is misinformation in social media. This is quite interesting, this one. So a viral post claims X, a fact check claims here. But both may be biased. If this source were asked what the other claims, what will they say? Of course, how to ask this question. Maybe you should go to history and see, okay, this source usually lies. They have a specific agenda, or is very open, very democratic, very truthful to his followers. And the other one. So now you understand, and you should check the what they say about each other in their news or social posts and things like that. And after a while, you can understand. You don't know which one is true or liar, but you start to understand which one should you trust. So because at the end of the day, it will be about, you will find the truth. Okay, so by doing this, you remove the need to know who's right up front and observe consistency versus contradiction. That's what this puzzle reveals. System monitoring, again, I have talked about. One server says system is stable, another system crash detected. You don't know which monitor is fault. You can treat the logs like guards. Ask what the other would report and look for a logical mismatch. So you look into the logs of one and the others, and each one is talking about the others. Let's say because you have a distributed system, sometimes when you do let's say tracing, and sometimes you have transactions that cross different servers, and when you look into this, you say what each server is when it's connected. Server 1 is connected to the server 2, and the 2 to the server 1, and again you can follow the same logic and apply this puzzle solution. So in summary, one question solves a complex logic trap. It seems it's at first sight we see, okay, it's a very difficult problem. How can I trust? Because one is liar, I don't know who is the liar, who is the true. How can I guess? And this question that redirects the answer to the other person will give you the right answer. So both cases lead to the wrong answer. That's quite. I really like this puzzle because it's the wrong that makes you right. Both cases lead to the wrong answer, which reveals the truth. It's quite paradoxical, right? Powerful lesson in indirect reasoning, applicable to systems, security, teamwork, interviews, and problem solving. Builds a lifelong habit of asking the right question, not chasing quick answers. Final tip, indirect questions can reveal direct truths when you know how to listen. That's one of the most important skills, soft skills that you should have, and in everything in your life. When you cannot trust the answer, trust the logic that surrounds it. Great decision makers aren't just good at solving problems, they're better at asking the questions that reveal the problem. And again, I'm finishing as I started. Always develop a skill to understand what is the right question when you are in front of specific scenarios. So I hope you like this introduction of this series. I will provide you more challenges and puzzles. Some of them will be very direct to interview questions, challenges that I know that Google, Apple, and others usually ask. But the most important thing that I will try to achieve in these videos is for you to understand what is the value of this specific challenge or puzzle, and how can it help you to be a better professional. So I hope you like it. Please subscribe my channel, comment, share with your friends. It will be much appreciated. Thank you. I hope to see you in my next video.